fellow movie crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. And today we're going to be doing a review for the latest Steven Spielberg movie, Disclosure Day. And then, just to add a little extra to this, be a little special, Brian and I are going to do an all-time Steven Spielberg ranking of all of his films. Something that Brian came up with, and I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, let's do that. Had to kind of open up the treasure chest of my brain to remember most of the movies because it's been.
And then I found out Sean hasn't seen like 15 of them.
Yes, I didn't realize that either until I started pulling up Letterboxd. Like, oh shit, there's so many of Spielberg movies that I have not watched because they just weren't as exciting. But first, before we go to those rankings, we're going to talk about Disclosure Day, which came out this past Friday. I will say for me, I think you and I both were kind of in the same mindset early in the year when they released the very first trailer for Disclosure Day. You and I are both like, this doesn't feel like a Spielberg movie. Like, I remember when we were like, for anticipated, I think we saw the first trailer right before we did our anticipated show because it was high. And then we saw the first trailer and it like dipped all the way down. But then they came out with a second trailer and we're like, okay, this now feels like a Spielberg movie, so now I'm like a little more excited or a little more.
Because the first one was just kind of atmospheric, and this one kind of showed some of the action and things happening in the movie. Yeah.
It showed some of the Spielberg flair, whereas the first one didn't at all. You're like, what the hell is this?
The first one looked like it was going to be like Super 8, like someone else trying to make us an Amblin Entertainment movie. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I will admit I was going into Disclosure Day, even though I felt better about the second trailer than I did the first, I still wasn't like, oh, I'm about to see a Spielberg movie. Because I went and looked back. I'm like, when was the last time I was actually, like, excited for a Spielberg film? And it has been quite a bit. It's not that he's made bad movies. It's just he's been making movies that I just don't really care about. I think the last one for me was probably Ready Player One, and before that it was maybe like, I'm not saying I loved it, but it was probably War of the Worlds. Like, he's just like, never really cared about, even though I love Tom Hanks, I didn't really care about The Post or Bridge of Spies. And
yeah, I haven't been like, I love West Side Story. I enjoyed it. Ready Player One is probably the last one I was really kind of excited about. Before that, for me, it goes back to Crystal Skull, which I didn't end up loving, but that was the last one I was excited before, anticipating before it came out.
Yeah.
Everything else, like the Lincolns and the Warhorse and the Bridge of Spies and the Tintins, I'm just like, this is not my Spielberg.
Yeah, so it's like, we love Spielberg. Like, when we think of our favorite films of all time, Spielberg is in there a good chunk. It's just, he hasn't piqued our interest in a while. Much like, there's, oh God, I'm blanking on, who did Forrest Gump? I'm blanking on his name.
Robert Zemeckis.
Early Zemeckis was amazing. And then
he found mocap and disappeared.
Yeah, and then he's like, that just happens with certain directors. I'm assuming eventually the Nolan verse is going to have that happen, where Nolan's over here, and then Nolan eventually just starts doing shit that no one's going to really care that much about. You're still going to have his diehards. I mean, Tarantino, even to a point, is... I mean, we go see Tarantino movies because it's Tarantino, but you gotta admit, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood wasn't the best, and then before that, Hateful Eight was just okay, But then you got Django and Inglourious Bastards and the Kill Bills and Pulp and all them. So I mean, it's just like, they're gonna go through stretches where your directors are just like, okay, whatever. But Spielberg, though, for Disclosure Day, I was hoping that he was going to capture that magic for me again that makes you go, here we go. Here's Spielberg. So going into that, do you want me to go first since I've seen it earlier?
Go ahead.
Sooner? Yep. Okay. So for me, this did not do it for me. And I'm not seeing the same film that a lot of other people are seeing, because I am seeing a lot of people. I'm not saying that they're going over the moon Spielberg loving, but I'm seeing a lot of people who really did enjoy this film. I was just kind of okay with it. I felt like, well, first things first, you couldn't have found a better way to start the movie for me by having a pro wrestling match going on.
I thought he was doing that.
I was like, Because first off, I know the two guys.
That's why I was like, I wonder if Sean knows who these wrestlers are, because I didn't know them.
I remember, like, I went, is that fucking Lance Archer? Is that Brian Cage? It's like, what the fuck? Am I in the right movie? What movie? And then you see Joshua comment, okay, this is Disclosure Day. Where you could not have had me more like, okay. And then they left the wrestling match, and then the movie kind of lost me. There are obviously 3 story plots going on. You know, you have the Josh O'Connor plot, you have the Emily Blunt plot, and then you got this like Colin Firth, Coleman. Like I know his first name.
Domingo. Who is his first name?
Coleman Domingo. Yeah, there you go. You got them like intertwining over the both of them, and my problem was that I only really cared about one storyline. And when I say care, it wasn't even like I was like invested in it. It was just like, well, this one seems to be the more entertaining, and the other one was just kind of more boring and frustrating. The other problem that I also had was that this movie felt, and I don't know if you feel the same way or not, this movie felt like I was jumping into like episode 6 of a series. And I'm like, I feel like I'm missing a lot of plot, because it doesn't just start like how a normal movie starts, where it's like, okay, let's set up the characters, let's do this. This movie starts you in the middle of a super serious situation, and which is normally like a second act going into third act part of a film, and then the story starts from there, which is a breath of fresh air to a point, because like, oh, all right, we're already like jumping into this from the fucking get-go. But for me, it didn't work for me because I didn't give a shit about any of the characters going into this. You know, and it's one thing if it's like a Mission Impossible where it's like, oh, we're, you know, joining them already on a mission, but that's not the main mission. That's just a tease, and then we're gonna go into the main mission later in the movie. It's just for us to get our, you know, beak wet. But this was like, no, this is the main plot, and we're just going to continue this on from here. And that just didn't really hook me as much as I thought it was going to hook me. I am just not a big Josh O'Connor fan. Like, I like him in what he does. Like, I was not a huge fan of him in Knives Out 3. What's that?
Wake Up Dead Man.
Thank you. I couldn't remember the full title.
Which is weird. I was watching this movie, I was thinking, man, I wish I pushed harder for him to make our top 5 nominees, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's like, he is good in the movie. I just don't like, I'm just not over the moon on the guy. And he was great in Challengers. He really was. And same thing with this. It's just like, he's just not a guy that I like gravitate towards wanting to watch or enjoy watching him. There's nothing in it that he actively does bad. I'm not shitting on his performance. It's just, I just see him on screen. I'm just kind of meh. But I will say this, for as being as smart as his character is supposed to be, this dude makes every fucking dumb decision you could possibly think of in this film, and he's so intellectually smart. But how many times in this movie I go, you fucking idiot, why would you do that? Like, that is the worst fucking thing you could do. And it was frustrating watching him in this movie. And then you have Emily Blunt, she's a newscaster in Kansas City, and then all of a sudden she can start speaking different languages, and all these weird things are starting to happen to her. And I love Emily Blunt, so naturally I gravitate more towards her story, but she's also just more entertaining to watch and more fun to watch because her reactions to everything is just more like in a Spielberg kind of wheelhouse. And then you have Wyatt Russell with her as her boyfriend, and I do feel like he doesn't really get to shine in this, which was a bummer because I like Wyatt Russell. And then you've got, you know, Colin Firth playing like his character, which is like Agency 1, and Coleman Domingo is like Agency 2, and they're both trying to get to these people. And I feel like for the first 2/3 of this movie, Coleman Domingo is completely wasted and underutilized. You just kind of watch him like in a studio talking on the phone and not really giving much for him. Now in the latter half, he gets a lot to fucking work with. Colin Firth is doing everything he can in this movie to make this movie interesting. He's trying so fucking hard. And it's not really working. But god dang it, he tries so hard to make you care. Are there Spielberg-type scenes in this? Maybe go, this is Spielberg. Yes. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff in between that made me go, oh God, how much more do we got? I just don't care. I just don't care. And we eventually get to this crescendo of this film, and it almost made me feel like by the time this movie ends, I felt like I'm blanking on the movie right now. It's late, guys. My brain's not fully working as well as I'd like. There was a movie that Brian and I both watched last year, and it was one of our biggest disappointments of the year. Very well acted, and then it ends abruptly, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, you just got interesting, and the movie ended. You know what movie I'm talking about?
I don't offhand, no.
With the nukes. 3 different stories.
Oh, yes.
I'm blanking on the name. It's a Netflix film.
That's how forgettable it is. It's the one with Rebecca Ferguson.
Yes, and Idris Elba, and he's president, and I can see the poster, I can see the seeds, and I'm blanking on the fucking title.
House of Dynamite.
House of Dynamite, thank you. This movie kind of felt like House of Dynamite, where it's like, as soon as the movie got interesting, it ends. And it's like, so I just sat here for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I've just been teased to this crescendo, and that's the end of the movie. And I'm like, I don't know what I needed to basically win me over for this, but you basically just teased me for 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then right when I was about to be like, I'm here, you ended the film. I will say the last 10, 15 minutes of this movie is easily the best part of the film. But there was one part of this that was just like, why the fuck are we doing this? Where there's a newscast happening, and they really just keep focusing on this one newscaster instead of like Emily Blunt or other people. And I'm like, why are we focused on this person? Why are we listening to this person? And I think it's because
she's narrating with exposition.
Well, it's like that, and it's like, well, she's giving us that like mindset of she's seeing things, and she's the world's reaction to this. Like, we're seeing it, like, this is how everyone should be reacting. But she's not very good, and I feel like there's like other people, like they could be cutting to other people and seeing everyone else's reaction, but instead we're focused on this one woman. And I'm just like, can we go to someone else? Because I'm sorry, I would change the channel if I was watching the news. There are plenty of other newscasters who are probably given the same report who are doing it better. And I don't really care for this woman. And it's nothing, I guess, it's just the way the performance is being read and probably how she's acting in it. I don't know if it's the dialogue. Like, I get what she's doing, and she's not like horrible. It's just like, I feel like there was a better way to do this than what she was doing. All in all, though, this movie just felt like, first off, it jumps in like it's halfway through a season of a show, and then right when it got interesting, it ended. So for me, it just felt so uneven and uninteresting at points. And then when it had some Spielberg-esques in it, I was like, okay, here we go. Can we keep it going? No, we can't. Okay, well then fuck me. Blunt's great in it. I will say Emily Blunt and Colin Firth are both fantastic in it. Now Domingo and O'Connor, they're fine. Eve Hewson is fine in the film, but they just didn't really do much to wow me over what I've seen them do in other things. So for me, for a Spielberg film, it's kind of like like you said, Super 8, which we love Super 8, but it was like someone who was trying to act like a Spielberg film, but didn't really make a Spielberg film, but really fucking wanted to. But the problem is that this was Spielberg, and it just didn't hit for me. I give it a low 3 on my rating because it's like it's not a bad movie. It just wasn't a good movie for me, and it's not something that I would ever probably watch again. It's not something I would necessarily recommend people go out of your way to see. Now, if it's on streaming or something, you guys want to check it out, then yeah, sure, fucking go do it. But can I actively say, you guys need to go to the theaters and see this right now over all these other films that are in theaters right now over the summer? Hell no, I can't do that to you. So those are my thoughts. Brian, what are your thoughts?
A lot of them are the same. This movie is exactly what I expected it to be, honestly. I hear Spielberg films coming out, I get excited, despite the fact that, like we've talked about, in the last, really since the turn of the century, his films have not been the kind of Spielberg films I love for the most part. He's gotten into a lot more serious dramas and things like that, and some weird animated stuff that I didn't go for. But so this one came out, I'm like, okay, getting back to basics, back to like his sci-fi. It could be like Close Encounters, it could be like E.T., it's that kind of thing. But the truth is, it lies a lot closer to like War of the Worlds and Minority Report. It's kind of it has that same new kind of cinematography that he's been using for the last couple decades. The same kind of filmmaking, the same kind of tone to it. Now, this one isn't quite as like action oriented as like War of the Worlds is, but it kind of wants to have some action scenes, but then also have kind of the Close Encounters ET thing where there's like the agents are chasing down the people and they have to try to escape. So I wanted to get excited about it, but I kind of wasn't, because I'm like, I kind of know it's not going to be exactly what I want it to be, and that's kind of what I got. In that, thing is, everybody in this, top to bottom, Spielberg, O'Connor, Blunt, John Williams, score, everybody's doing their job. I think everybody in this did a good job. I just actually disagree on the newscaster. I think she did a phenomenal job. I thought she was one of the best supporting little.
It was more just, why did we focus on her for 5+ minutes?
Because she was the one who's narrating all the different clips that we were seeing, which I won't.
We could have gone to other newscasters. I feel like we wasted too much time just on her.
I think it was just like the world was watching this news report as we were watching it with them. Is what it was. They want us to experience it kind of as they're experiencing it. But anyway, but I think that everybody top to bottom was doing a great job. Emily Blunt, I thought, not like Oscar nominee or anything for it, but I thought she did very good what she had to do. Josh O'Connor, like I said, I really liked him in Wake Up Dead Man. I wanted to nominate him in one of our top performances. He ended up not quite making the cut. I think he did a good job in here as well, although I don't like things about the character like you, that the way he was written, but I think his performance was fine. I do think I would have liked to see more of Wyatt Russell. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, at first you kind of think, why did he bother taking this tiny role? But then at the same time, it's like, no matter who you are, if you say, I can be a Steven Spielberg movie, okay, I'll take it.
It's because it's a Spielberg movie. That's why.
It's a one-scene cameo, fine, sure, whatever,
Yeah,
I'll take it. So, and that's kind of where this movie kind of is. Like the things I would like to see more of, we didn't get to see. And the things that they were getting into, I didn't care as much about. And in the end, it was just kind of like, it did feel to me like somebody trying to make a Spielbergian film, but it didn't feel like Spielberg to me. It felt kind of like it was not quite hitting the mark on all things. The CG was surprisingly iffy with the animals, like when they did the fox and stuff for a Spielberg movie. Come on, that surprised me. Because I was going to say the effects even were good, but in some cases they weren't.
They weren't wow. They weren't Spielberg wow worthy. They were just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of unacceptable when it comes to Spielberg.
But I was largely like you, kind of. I want to say disappointed by it, but like I said, I kind of knew what I was going to get. So if anything, I was going to be pleasantly surprised, and I wasn't. It was just kind of exactly what I expected. So in the end, I actually gave it a 3.5, but that's it's a very reserved 3.5, because for me, it's like I said, everybody is kind of doing their job, and they're Steven Spielberg's direction is still good, all the acting is good. It's just the story didn't grab me. Like they're focusing on all the wrong things. Even the stuff with Coleman Domingo and the whole, I guess I won't get into spoilers things, but I just didn't care about most of the story. I found myself a lot of times just kind of going, and I don't know what I wanted it to be. It really, honestly, once they were talking about a new Steven Spielberg movie coming out, and it's going to be something about UFOs was the rumor. And I'm like, okay. Like I said before, I was excited. It could be getting back to Close Encounters, E.T. Once I found out what it was about, this Disclosure Day, I already was kind of like, I don't really care about this so much. But I held out hope, and in the end, it just kind of didn't impress me. So, like I said, I gave it a very reserved 3.5 stars, just because of the quality of filmmaking involved. But I just didn't care about it that much, and that's what comes.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things that we could delve deeper into, but at the same time, it's like why do I care enough to delve deeper into this? Because I didn't really care about the movie. There was really at one point where, I'm not going to say what the character is because I don't want to like go spoilery, where they're spending like, a good amount of time on one particular character and like their beliefs, and so I'm just like, I literally went, I don't fucking care. It's like, I really don't care. And it's like, can we just like, it's like he was like, I don't know what I was wanting.
Exactly. But it wasn't this.
It wasn't this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man, like, because I had told Brian I had just got done watching The Furious, which, trust me, at the end of the month, I'm gonna be talking about that plenty when we get to our half-year review. And that movie was so flippin' amazingly awesome. And then to just go into, from that to go into this, I was so like just agitated. And what would happen too is if I went and saw Disclosure Day first and then went to The Furious probably would have got an even higher score for me because I'm like, yeah! But it's like, I'm finally excited. But yeah, Disclosure Day just was not it. And it makes me wonder, and I'll ask you this. If Spielberg comes out with another, which we know he will, Spielberg's next movie, is it something you're going to be excited for, or does it have to depend on what the film is, or are you going to go?
It depends. It's like I'm always going to go see a Spielberg film, except for one. It's the only one I haven't seen. It's because it didn't seem like a Spielberg movie. But I'm always excited to see a Steven Spielberg movie. As far as like my excitement, the anticipation of it, though, it really does depend on what it is. Because like before, like the Post came out, I'm like, I want to see a Steven Spielberg movie, but I don't give a shit about anything in this story. But I eventually watched it anyway. But for his next one, who knows what it'll be? He's one of those guys who gets attached to like 15 different movies and like 2 of them pan out. So I don't know what's next. I know at one point he talked about maybe doing a Western. I don't know.
You know what? I almost would love to see him, even though I don't consider Jaws a horror, I would really love to see Spielberg go back and do some horror. Not go back, but I want to see him do a horror. I want to see what he does with it now. Because like I said, he did so many great things with Jaws. It's like with today's landscape, I'd really like to see what he would do with that. Like you said, I would know what I'd want him to do. I just would kind of like to see what he would do with one. But yeah, that's our review for Disclosure Day. Now we're going to go into the Spielberg all-time ranking list. Now, like Brian said at the beginning of the video, there are how many total Spielberg movies?
36.
36?
36 if you count Twilight Zone, which you only did one segment of.
Okay. So 35 in a segment.
Yeah.
I have seen, now with Disclosure Day, 18 of those. So I've only seen about half of his films. Reason why is A, there were movies that Spielberg did before Sean was born that weren't Jaws for the most part, or E.T. or Close Encounters or something like that, in Sean's household, those movies probably weren't on TV for Sean to watch. And granted, once I became of watching my own stuff, those movies, A, never were on the radar for me, and I didn't think, let's go back and watch everything Spielberg. Even though I love Spielberg, I never went, let's go watch 1941, or let's go watch Empire of the Sun, because it didn't pop in my head. And then, like you said, once we got into the 2010s and stuff, if something came up that I didn't want to watch, like Bridge of Spies or The Post or Lincoln or War Horse, I wasn't going to make myself watch it. Like, I love Spielberg, but I'm also like, I don't give a fuck about these movies, so I'm not going to watch these movies. So while we are going through these rankings, Brian is going to give his full ranking. If he mentions something before I get to my actual rankings that is on my list, I will talk about it. But there's going to be things that he's going to talk about that I am not going to have any opinion on because I've never seen them. So this is going to be a very pro Brian talk, which is fine because I'm apparently have a cough again when I haven't coughed in fucking a week, and now I get to shoot with you guys, and now I'm coughing, which is fantastic. So Brian,
yes,
take it away. And like I said, if you name a movie that is on my list, I will chime in.
I think honestly in this bottom section that I'm going to kind of go speed round through, there's only going to be 2, 3 maybe that I think you've seen. I don't know. But for my usual disclaimer, I'm basing this based on my favorite Spielberg films, not the best Spielberg films. So, for example, the example I always give, even when we're not talking about Spielberg, Schindler's List is a great 5-star movie. I'm never going to watch it again. It is a well-made film but I don't enjoy it. So when I'm making a list of my favorites, it's not going to be high ranking. So just so you know that this is not a judgment of the filmmaking, or based on what my.
And before we started, my list was based on ratings, and then I changed it, like Brian, to entertainment. Obviously, star ratings matter, but then it got to the point of where I was doing okay, if I have to choose between this 3-star movie and this 4.5-star movie, which one would I rather watch? And if I'm wanting to watch the 3-star movie, I'm putting it higher. Yeah. So there are going to be movies that I'm like, really, you ranked it that low? Yes, not because it wasn't a 4.5-star film. It's because I probably will never ever watch that movie again. Whereas this one, I've probably either watched multiple times, or if you put a gun to my head and said, pick one, I'm going to pick that one and not the 4.5-star one. So this is purely on entertainment of Spielberg's, brilliance alone, and not based on its acclaim and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So saying that, Brian.
Okay. That being said, there are 36 if I count Twilight Zone. I will say I about 36 just because I have not seen it. The one I have not seen is the BFG. Didn't care about this movie. The animation looked like shit. It was in this period where there was way too much of this mocap animation. I don't care if Spielberg did it. It did not interest me. Didn't see it. 35. The Color Purple I have down here. Now, this is one of those that it is a well-made film. I just don't care about it. I watched it again, I want to say a year ago. I still give it a 3 stars probably for my own personal enjoyment, but I just don't care about it. I probably won't ever revisit it. So I have that down at 35. 34, Adventures of Tintin. Again, hate that fucking style of animation, especially in this movie. The fucking dead eyes and the weird big heads on people, and it's just I hated this movie. And there's
hold up.
But they're making another one. Sean.
I had this at my number 13. 13. I actually enjoyed this movie. I liked it a lot. But once again, if you told me to pick out a scene right now, I have not watched it since the theaters. I remember really enjoying it while I watched it, but I have not watched it since it came out in 2011. So I have not watched the movie in 15 years. I probably should rewatch it, and maybe my opinion will change. But at the time, I was like, this is actually a lot of fun. It's weird how much Brian hates that movie, and I actually do enjoy it. So that is actually my number 13.
And again, I have not seen it since 2011 either. And I keep feeling like maybe I should go back and rewatch it. But then I just look at segments of like, no, I don't want to watch this. I will say John Williams' score, and that was also very good, but it really felt like he was just kind of like taking clips from all his other scores. But anyway, that's 34. At 33, The Post. Don't even remember anything about it. Don't care about it. I'm sure there's great acting performances, but I don't care. 32, Empire of the Sun. Honestly, just don't really remember it very well. 31, AI, Artificial Intelligence. I am not a fan of this movie at all. This is kind of the point, because Steven Spielberg in the 80s and 90s, as you'll see in my rankings, was kind of like untouchable for me. Like even the movies that I didn't love, I think were excellent movies. But AI was kind of that turn of the century, and it was kind of like he did this. Actually, he was prepping. He was actually going to be directing instead of just producing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Then Kubrick died, and his widow came to Spielberg and said, "Hey, he wanted. I think you should finish this," and he decided to drop this so he could go direct that instead and finish Kubrick's film for him because he was a big inspiration for him. Big mistake. This movie I thought was kind of a mess. It was kind of boring. It was kind of, and it didn't feel like Spielberg. I think it was really him doing. It was him basically just doing Kubrick's artificial intelligence. Did you see that one?
No.
No. Okay.
That's the one that had Haley Osment.
Yeah, Haley Joel Osment,
and
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched it. It just didn't look appealing.
I just did not enjoy that one very much at all. Just above that, I put Twilight Zone the movie, even though he only directed one segment of it.
Which segment was it?
It was called Kick the Can. It was an old folks home. This guy goes in, like they all like regain their youth and become like kids again. Scatman Crothers it's really, there's not much to it. It's okay. At 29, Sean's not gonna like this one, I don't think. 29 is where I have a Hook. I do not enjoy Hook. Now, when I saw it, I mean, I don't hate this movie. It's just, it's one of the first times I saw one that just felt like this is like only made for kids. Like this one, like his other movies, like E.T. and that could appeal to kids and they were about kids, but this one felt like it was childish. It felt like it was aimed strictly at kids, and I thought that everything was just kind of silly and dumb. Dustin Hoffman, phenomenal performance. Bob, oh my gosh,
Odenkirk?
Bob Hoskins,
Not Odenkirk.
phenomenal.
Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Hoskins, great as Smee. And Robin Williams, I mean, he was largely just doing his usual shtick, just in the Peter Pan character. He was still pretty good, but it wasn't my favorite performance of his. But really, it was just because everything was just kind of so dialed down for kids. And it's okay to make a movie for kids, but that just meant that it wasn't so much for me. Because I mean, you were probably a kid when it came out. I was at this point 19 years old or something. So,
I was 6 when this movie came out. This is my top number 10. I love Hook, and I watched this. I want to say it was right around Christmas. I was like, doing holiday stuff, and I was trying something on TV, and it was coming on, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah!" Put on Hook, and I still loved it. I love everything about this movie. It's my favorite Peter Pan of any of the Peter Pans. Robin Williams is fucking amazing, like he always is. He's enjoyable as hell because I can watch Robin pretty much almost do anything and enjoy it. Like you said, Dustin Hoffman is the best Hook. Hoskins or not, it's just everything about him is great. Smee, the world, Rufio, everything about it. Julia Roberts as Tinkerbell. I mean, hell yeah. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the world that they decided to do with it. It's got a baseball scene in it, so I'm a couple baseball scenes in it, which made me love that as a kid who was a huge baseball player and fan. I love Hook, and every time they make a Peter Pan movie, I'm like hoping that they like capture the magic of what Hook was, and I've yet to find there are good ones out there. I'm not saying that every Peter Pan movie has sucked, but none of them have like really captured to me the Peter Pan experience like Hook has. So it is my number 10.
Okay, just above that, and this bottom half is largely kind of arbitrary. Bridge of Spies, again, from what I remember, great performances, didn't care about the story. I think it took me like a year or two after it came out before I even watched this movie because I just didn't care about it. 26, The Fabelmans. This is a movie I really wanted to love because I thought, here's with Spielberg kind of making a movie about his youth and growing up and then just aspiring filmmaker and all this stuff. Obviously, but using this fictional character is kind of like his proxy. So it wasn't necessarily that we didn't feel like he had to tell his exact story. You could take some liberties with it, but it was basically Spielberg's youth. And I was very interested in seeing that. The problem is that the stuff I was interested in, the talking about him being an aspiring filmmaker and everything he did to become one, that was kind of such a small part of the movie after all. There was so little focus on that. And then when they did get to it, they kind of like skimmed over it. And then the film's kind of over. And most of it was more about the marital drama and the personal issues and all the stuff that I didn't really care about. So that one ended up just being a 3-star movie for me. So I put that at 26. Did you see this one?
Yeah, this was my number 16.
Out of what, 17, 18?
18, yeah.
Okay.
Now, in terms of like rating, I gave it a really high. I think I gave it 4.5. I thought it was a really well done film. I thought the acting was great across the board. I thought it told a really interesting and catching story. as what the movie was. Now, if this was an actual Spielberg biopic, then I would have probably felt more towards you, like, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they go over this? But because it wasn't that, it was just this story of this young kid who wants to be a film, a director, and he's just kind of figuring that out, and you're watching his, start to figure out his process and shoot. That story I thought was incredibly well done and well acted.
When they focused on that story,
when they focused on that story, and even the marital stuff, I thought was still really well done. It might not have been as exciting, but I think the movie itself was very good. But like I said, on the Spielberg fun rewatchable scale, it's near the bottom for me. So that's why it's number 16. But no, I thought it was a really good movie.
And it has Paul Dano, and I agree with Quentin Tarantino when it comes to Paul Dano. So
I don't agree with that, but I don't think he's the worst. I like him, but I don't love him.
All right, at 25, Munich. Barely remember it. Next. At 24, Duel, which technically was a TV movie, but whatever. It was entertaining. It was kind of cool to see Spielberg's kind of first foray into a feature film, but didn't leave much of a mark. And it was very much a first effort. So that's 24. 23 is 1941. That's the one time he tried to go into just a full on comedy, especially a wacky comedy. I mean, he did some Terminal and stuff, which was comedies, but this like a full on wacky comedy. Didn't really work. I don't know that it was Spielberg's fault, but it's kind of hit and miss in the scenes. So that's a 23. 22, The Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn and William Atherton, who I really like. In a rare good guy role for him. This is another one that I don't remember a whole lot of it, but it was kind of had that early Spielberg, that sense of fun. It just is something about it. It just kind of was that early Spielberg. You could tell he was enjoying filmmaking. The characters were having fun. I enjoyed it, but it's still, it's an early one, so it's kind of low. 21 is where I put Schindler's List. I decided to put that just outside my top 20 because yes, if you're going rating films on filmmaking, it's going to be one of the top ones. It's not for me. I put that 20.
I will before you guys, jump me. I was like, how the hell have you never seen Schindler's List? I grew up with I say this like past tense. My father's still alive. My father is Jewish. I'm not, but he is. And I don't really handle Holocaust movies or, for the most part, Nazi movies very well. Now, like, there's case in points like The Glorious Bastards, where I love that movie, but that's obviously fantasy. Like, it's like, them getting their fucking comeuppance. But there are certain movies like Valkyrie with Tom Cruise where, like, I really wanted to like it, but the Nazis fucking win at the end, and that pisses me the fuck off. I don't even know what the story is of Schindler's List, but I know that it's a very tough watch. I know that it's one of the best films probably ever made and has some of the best performances from Liam Neeson and
Rafe.
Yeah, Rafe. Especially, people say he's one of the best villains in cinematic history. I know I need to make myself sit through that at some point. I almost was going to do it before Disclosure Day, but I just can't bring myself to do it right now. So, in good conscience, obviously that's not on my rankings because I've never seen it. And I, for the most part, have gone my entire life without watching a single fucking scene. So if I did watch it, it would be 100% like just blank. Because when you see movies like, oh, I've seen clips of that, or I've seen scenes. I literally will make myself, like, if someone has that on or there shows up, I'll walk out of the fucking room. Like, I don't want to watch stuff like that, or be around people who want to talk about that stuff. It's a non-starter for me. So I have still not seen that film. I know eventually I will make myself have to do that. But yeah, so that's why Schindler's List is not going to be talked about further than what I'm talking about right now. But yeah.
Yeah. So that was my 21 through 36. For the rest of these, we're going to start going like 5 at a time, although Sean's first segment will only have 3 in it.
So far you've only knocked 3 off my list.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to I'll do 5, then he'll go to his up through 16, and we'll go back and forth. All right. At 20, is the third most disappointing experience I've ever had in a movie theater. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. There are times when I want to rate this higher because there are certain scenes that work for me, and there are certain things about it I like. But the fact of the matter remains, it was a huge disappointment. It did not have the magic of the original 3 Indiana Jones films. It just, I don't know, something about the tone of it didn't work. The story with the I'm sorry, not aliens, the interdimensional beings, and all that stuff. And this is one of those where you can tell Steven Spielberg directed it, but it was basically all George Lucas. I've like read books and stuff about the making of these movies and stuff, and George has had a lot of these ideas in his head with like the fridge thing and the aliens. He's had in his head for years and tried to put them into different scripts for Indiana Jones, and they finally just did it here. And Spielberg, I think, was just like, okay, George, everyone do it your story. Which I wish he had stood, put his foot down and said, no, I would like to have some input on this story, because he could have talked Lucas down from a lot of these bad things. But anyway, super disappointing. Again, this is kind of like Disclosure Day. I still gave this movie 3.5 stars. So that's where we already are. We're at number 20, and I'm already in 3.5 star territory. Because there are things about it I like. There are performances I like. There's action segments I like. But just it fell far short of the original 3.
Do you want me to talk about it now, or do you want to go through your 5 and then me do my 5? I'll talk about it now. I just didn't know how you want to do that.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
Okay. This is my 18. So it's my lowest Spielberg. But I honestly, you know what? Fuck it. No, it's my 17. Disclosure Day is 18 for me.
What's your bottom Spielberg? Wow.
Yeah, like I said, which is 3 stars. So even at 18, it's 3 stars is still technically a good movie. So Disclosure Day, we already talked about. That's my 18. I'll go 17 for Crystal Skull. There is a fun, good Indiana Jones movie in here. It's just overrun with some stupid decisions by George Lucas. I don't hate Mutt like most people do. I think Shia LaBeouf is doing actually a damn good job in what he's being told to do. And everyone wants to hate his ass for this. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and he's doing it well. Leave him alone. I think Cate Blanchett's solid. I think the story, like I said, there is a good Indiana Jones story in here when you can see that it's Spielberg and not George Lucas. I do think that it doesn't deserve the criticism, but then on the other hand, deserves some of the criticism. But some people will talk about this like this is one of the worst piece of shit films ever, and it's not. It's actually okay. It's okay with some bad decisions. Could have been good with those decisions. Could have even been great with those decisions all removed. So I do think it gets kind of wrongfully attacked, but because of those justifiable problems, it's an average Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah. And like I said, it is getting measured up against a trilogy of essentially perfect action films, in my opinion. So it just felt that much. Like I said, this was my number 3 most disappointing of all time. If you're curious, number 2 is the Die Hard movie doesn't exist, and number 1 is Phantom Menace.
Who refresh my memory? Who directed Dial of Destiny?
Mangold.
That's right, Mangold. Okay, my brain was like, didn't he? I'm like, no, he did not do that. Someone else did it. All right. So
that was actually a problem with Crystal Skull as well as with Dial of Destiny, is that you took a character, Indiana Jones, who is mostly based on these like 1930s serials, where he was a character from that era. And the problem is because of obviously Harrison Ford age, and they would say, well, let's have the character age too. But then you're taking this 1930s adventure serials character and trying to put him into, the 50s, space age scare, and then the Cold War, issues. It's like, that's not who this character is. He just felt out of place. So anyway, that's enough of that one. 19, Lincoln. This is another film filled with great performances, starting at the top, obviously, with Daniel Day-Lewis, but then all the way down to the bottom. I think that's got a great cast assembled. I did think it was to be a little bit more about Lincoln because the movie's called Lincoln, when really it was basically kind of like a movie just about the ratification of this, I'm not sure which was 18th Amendment or 13th Amendment Constitution. So it felt like a big long episode of The West Wing, essentially. But they called it Lincoln. I still liked the movie, but it's just, I've never watched it a second time. 18 is one I think, lower than a lot of people. People, especially in this trivia community that we're in, love this movie. I'm kind of lukewarm on it, and that's Catch Me If You Can. This is a movie I wanted to like. It's Spielberg supposed to be doing something like light and fun. I like Leonardo DiCaprio. I like Tom Hanks. But overall, I was just kind of lukewarm on the movie. I didn't dislike it. Again, it's still a 3.5 star movie for me. It's just, I think that part of it is I never liked the whole, kind of that 60s aesthetic that they had going on in the movie. And well, then into the 70s, I guess. And it's just, I enjoyed it, but I'm just not nearly as high on it as everybody else in the world.
This is actually my number 7. And it's one of those that I did not watch it when it came out. It was one of those that I watched for the first time probably 10 years after it came out, kind of thing. So I waited until it was way out of everyone else's mindset. I was like, oh yeah, let me watch this. And I loved it. I thought Leo was fantastic in it. Tom Hanks is fantastic in it. There's a lot of great actors and actresses in it that have smaller parts, but I really just loved the journey that we go on with these characters, and just kind of how Leo kind of intertwines and weaves in and out of shit, and just constantly keeps getting the one up on Tom Hanks until eventually we get to the end of the film. But no, this was one of those where it's just like, for a Spielberg movie, which, looking at my list, most of my Spielberg stuff is super action heavy or sci-fi or something spectacular. This is the one movie of his where it is straightforward, and I absolutely loved it. And it's one of my favorite Spielberg films. It's one of my favorite Leo and Tom Hanks performances. It's not like in their top 5, but it is definitely in their top 10, just like Spielberg here. But yeah, I definitely actually am one of the people that do actually really enjoy this film.
And that's perfectly valid. Like I said, I don't love it as much as everybody else did. Yeah. My 17 is War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds is one, and again, this is kind of one of those where I got kind of excited about it because it's Spielberg kind of getting back to maybe action sci-fi after doing a lot of like more Oscar-y kind of movies. It was actually just one of those that's like kind of disappointed me because it started out and I liked the idea of it. First of all, I like Tom Cruise playing like an everyman in this movie where he normally is playing like big. He's like the main star. He's Jack Reacher. He's Ethan Hunt. He's like the big star of everything. But he's kind of a dad. He's a dad trying to take care. He was kind of a schmuck of a dad too. He wasn't a very good dad. And I kind of like that this alien invasion movie from the viewpoint of just a regular dude and his family on the ground. It's like we got Independence Day and he's always following the military or the scientists that are trying to figure out how to beat the aliens. This is just like, no, this is just a normal guy and how they're seeing an alien invasion. And I kind of like that. My problem with the movie comes in 2 things. One, it felt very segmented. It felt like, okay, we have this scene. Okay, now let's move on to this scene. Now let's move on to this. It just felt like they thought up these cool sequences and just kind of lined them up in a row. And my second problem with it is that it just ends, it goes back to the original story and going back to the original version of the movie they made too, where it's just like, oh, the aliens, it turns out that they can't survive here because of, certain things in the air or whatever. And it's like, oh, so basically nothing anyone did in this entire movie means anything. And also the movie's just anticlimactic. It's like, go, 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 and we're done. And so that like made me leave that with a bad taste in my mouth. So that's why that one's only at number 17 for me.
That is my number 14. And for the most part, everything that you said, I agree with. I like that Tom is just a regular dude. And I also like, in terms of how Spielberg did the story here, is that normally when you have a movie like this and you just have a regular dude, then all of a sudden they become like the hero. And like it's like, why is this generic guy the hero? You know, it's like he hasn't done anything, but like all of a sudden, like the plot forces him to have to do something that makes him, you know, save the day over all these military people and all this kind of stuff. And this movie doesn't do that. Tom is never the hero. Now he might be a hero in terms of like his daughter played, you know, great by Dakota Fanning, you know, because he saves her from Tim Robbins and shit in certain points, and he has to go dark, which I love that whole scene with them is fantastic. But unlike you, the ending didn't bother me because once again, that's the story that we were getting. Is that you're watching this normal guy deal with this stuff that he has no control over, and he's not going to. And so, yeah, naturally, it just ends because he's not the focal point of this world attack and this world invasion. We're not going to see if the humans beat them or anything like that. You just find out that, no, apparently they can't handle the bacteria in the air or the germs or whatever. And that was it. It's another reason why I love Signs, and I know you don't, where it's like, yeah, Mel Gibson, you know, you're like, oh yeah, well, he's gonna save the day. No, he's not. He's just a father who's trying to protect his kids, and his brother, played by Joaquin, who I know you don't care for. They are the heroes to their children, but they don't save the day. They don't do anything. They just defend against one or two aliens and find out that water ends up doing it. But at least in that one, yes, the military figured out a way to defeat them, and you hear that all like kind of off camera and stuff. But that's what I liked about War of the Worlds, was that there is no hero moment for the whole world. It's just small moments, and I think Tom's great at that. I didn't really care for I'm blanking on who played his son.
Justin Chatwin, I think.
Yeah, who we love, and you know, Dragon Ball Evolution, nothing. So you know, I guess I'm shitting on a guy that we already both don't really care for as an actor. But I think it's executed very well. Is it something that I really want to I gravitate back to watch a lot? No. But I think Spielberg has some really cool action set pieces and scenes in this that happen around this normal guy, played by Tom Cruise. And I think it works for that reason alone. So it's another one of those movies that I feel like gets kind of unjustly shit on. I only gave it 3 stars, obviously. So, I mean, I'm defending a 3-star movie. But it's one of those where it's like, I think everyone wanted this epic fucking thing from Spielberg, and he was telling a very small, tight story. And I think in what he did very well. Is it something that you rewatch a lot? No. But I think he did well there.
And I have it at 3.5, so I still enjoyed it. I'm just saying, among Spielberg's filmography, it did not rank very highly for me. And 16 is where I have Disclosure Day, which obviously we've already discussed. So why don't you give your 18? Well, I think we've already covered most 18, 17, 16.
Yeah, my 18 is Disclosure Day, my 17 is Crystal Skull, and my 16 is The Fabelmans.
Okay, why don't you do your next 5 then? Why don't you?
Okay, so my 15 through 11, we have talked about 2. So I'll at least be able to give input on 3 of them. And one of them is really going to shock so many people. My 15 is one I know Brian obviously has higher because he hasn't mentioned it yet. And that is West Side Story. I am not a West Side Story fan. I remember I went back and watched the OG one for the first time before this one came out. And obviously it's West Side Story. There are scenes or musical numbers that I've seen prior to the film. Like I Feel Pretty and all that, that. So like, I definitely have seen those scenes before. But I never watched it as a whole. And I remember watching the OG one and just not really caring for it. Like I can appreciate numbers that they did in the film, but it doesn't mean I like the whole movie. So going into West Side Story, I was like, it's Spielberg. That's the only reason I'm watching this, because I want to see what Spielberg does with the musical. And it deserved all the praise that it got. Great performances, great set pieces for the musical numbers. It looks fantastic. When they do the big numbers, they all are very effective in what they're doing. Is it as good as In the Heights? Fuck no. Because that's like right around the same time when they came out. But it's because of the story that I just don't love it as much as I think a lot of other people would. Case in point, Brian. Nor do I really care to listen to any of the music from it. It's like I know the songs are iconic. Do I like them? Not really, even though they're sung very well in both versions. But it's just not one of those that I like go, yeah, I want to watch West Side Story. Hell, like even earlier tonight, part of me was like, I kind of want to watch In the Heights again. Or there would be a time where I'm like, you know what, I really want to go watch Singing in the Rain or An American in Paris. But never will I go, I want to watch West Side Story. So that was my number 15.
I have that actually all the way up at number 10. Yeah, because I'm a little bit more of a musical guy than Sean. He enjoys some musicals, but I'm more of a musical guy than him. I like the original one quite a bit. It definitely is longer than it needs to be. But I still enjoy it. The performances are good. I won't get into talking about the people they cast at the time in brownface because that's just a product of the time and it is what it is. Just like in this new one, Ansel Elgort, I know around the time of this release, there was all this controversy about him. I don't care about any of that. But I did dislike him in this movie, or at least thought he was the weakest link in this movie just because of who he is. He's kind of a charisma vacuum in this movie. Everyone else, I thought Rachel Zegler was great. I thought, obviously,
DeBose.
Ariana DeBose, thank you. She was phenomenal. The musical numbers are great. The choreography, the dancing is great. Spielberg obviously adds his touches with the cinematography and just the way he films things. But it is very faithful to the original story. Obviously, didn't make any major changes to this thing. So I enjoyed it a lot more than Sean. It's not. It is one of those movies that, you're not sure why he bothered to remake it, and I still kind of would have rather had an original film out of him, but I still enjoyed it for what it was, all the way to number 10 on my list.
My number 14, like I said, we just talked about, which is War of the Worlds. Number 13, we talked about already, which was The Adventures of Tintin. Number 12 is the one that's going to piss off a lot of people. I will preface this that I have not watched this since I was a kid. Does it deserve a rewatch? Yes. Will I probably rate it higher when I rewatch it? Maybe. But I always just remember not caring about it as much as everyone else did, and that's E.T. I know E.T.'s a classic. I'm not going to argue that fact. It doesn't mean that I enjoyed it. You want to know why I don't enjoy it? Because kid Sean Brain was always upset when the guys in the suits came in when E.T. was sick and what the hell is the kid's name? Elliot, thank you. When they're all sick and stuff, and then they come in their like big radioactive like suits and shit, and and everyone's crying, and Drew Barrymore's crying, and everything's like, I hate that movie at that point. Like, I don't like that, which I get it, as an adult, that's a good plot point and storyline, but young Sean did not like that thing. Young Sean loved the fantastical aspects of the movie, but I have not watched it. I will say this. You know what I love about E.T.? I love E.T. the ride at Universal Studios. That was probably the only ride that I actually was totally cool with just hanging out in the waiting line because you were in. I don't know if did you ever go to Universal Studios and ride this ride?
I think I did. It was a long time ago.
Because like the whole waiting list, you're in the world that E.T.'s from. And it's like being on like Pandora and Avatar. There's so many things you can watch and look at, and there's so many of E.T.'s aliens there. It's like the coolest fucking experience. And then you get to the actual fucking ride. I love that more than I love this movie. I don't really have much to say on it because, like I said, I don't think I've watched it since I was like single digits in age. It's not one of those movies that I'm like, I want to watch E.T. It's just not, it doesn't hit that way for me. Now, granted, I could watch it now and be like, oh, wow, I have totally like not given this movie its due. But it's also, and I still gave it 4.5 stars. I know what the movie is capable of. I know what the movie does. in terms of rewatchability and enjoyment factor for me, though, it's not very high. Because to me, if I have to choose between E.T. and Super 8, I'm going to watch Super 8 10 out of 10. Because I fucking love Super 8. I love the cast and everything that they do with that movie. And E.T., I don't really care about the performances. I don't care about the cast in the movie. E.T.'s cool. Cool looking, but I also think of E.T. and with my young brain, because once again, E.T. came out in fucking 1982, which is before I was born. So when I was young enough to watch this, you know what was also out? And I know this is the one of the worst things to fucking compare it to, but you know what? I see Brian's eyes widen because he knows what I'm about to fucking say.
I'm not.
You know what movie was out around the same goddamn time that I always got stuck having to watch more than E.T.?
What, Mac and Me?
Fucking Mac and Me.
Oh my god.
Fucking Mac
The McDonald's commercial that was a ripoff of E.T.?
Yes. I'm not saying that is remotely good, but my brain mixes them together because they were always on TV. Both of them were always on TV. So yes, does Sean need to go back and watch E.T.? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do I want to? Not really. I know I need to, much like Schindler's List. I need to watch it at some point, but I just feel bored at the thought of having to watch E.T.
You'd rather go watch Mac and Me.
I don't want to watch Mac and Me either. I'm going to watch Super 8. Because I
just like Jaws and
Super 8.
Sharknado are the same movie. Cool.
You what?
Just like Jaws and Sharknado are the same movie.
I refuse to watch any of those fucking Sharknado movies.
E.T. Is my number 2.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Now, keep in mind, I mean, it is a phenomenally made film. I think Spielberg was at the top of his game. It's like he made, he did like Jaws and Close Encounters and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think E.T. is where he like kind of solidified himself as just being able to be, because this is the kind of movie that was both commercially successful and it was like, being nominated for all kinds of awards. Obviously, it wasn't going to win because they gave it to Gandhi that year because they're fucking stupid. But I think Spielberg solidified himself with this film, just in his style, in the way he filmed things, in the emotion he brought out, everything about this, as well as the special effects. Because this movie, I fully admit, it might be partially not tainted, but colored by the fact that I was the exact age of Elliot when this movie came out. So this movie came out at the perfect time for me. This was me. It's like I wanted to go on this adventure with E.T. So it just hit me at the right age. Everything about it was perfect. It's one of those things where it's not this is the kind of thing for me. It's about children and this alien, but it was not a childish film. It didn't feel like it was made for kids. It was kind of made for everybody. It was kind of like, so this is like actually one of the more adult one of the first more adult films I saw, even though it's not really adult, but it's meant in terms of not being just like, action or just being fun. But I loved everything about this movie. So it's my number 2.
Okay. And my number 11, which is probably going to be, I would say it's probably either ridiculously high for Brian or it's in the same ranking that I have it in right now, is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. This is my number 11. I will say Kid Sean, so young Sean, this was my favorite Indiana Jones movie. Adult Sean, who understands film better, this is the lowest of the trilogy, but it's still the guiltiest pleasure favorite of me. I realize Short Round is super racist. Not him, but like that concept of Short Round, because it's just like he's got the little kid sidekick, and he's in wow, I'm blanking on his name. I love him so much. Yeah, Kate Kwan. His character could have been written so much better, but he's doing so great in the movie. And blanking on the female lead,
Kate Capshaw.
She's annoying as fuck, but she's written to be annoying as fuck, and she's doing the best she can to be annoying as fuck. I love how the movie kind of started off almost James Bond, with like Indiana Jones and the white tux and everything about that. Like to them, falling down the mountain in the safety raft to, actually getting to the main area and the Kalima And the youngest memories of Sean, I just always remember her being like lowered into the pit, and then like the rail car like action set piece, and then them on the drawbridge with him and the machete with the alligators. Like, in terms of like remembering moments, I remember more moments iconically for me in Temple of Doom than I do the other two. And that's because young Sean Brain has a nostalgia overload compared to the first two. Because I don't know why, because the Temple of Doom is probably the more violent of the three.
Temple of Doom was one of the two movies that caused the PG-13 rating to be invented.
Yeah, but young Sean watched that one more than any of them. So for me, I love Temple of Doom. I really do. I know it's the inferior between 1 and 3, but I love Temple of Doom. So yeah,
I love Temple of Doom as well. It's my number 5 of all Spielberg's films.
Wow, that I told you it was either going to be ridiculously high or it was going to be in the same.
No, I'm
area.
one of those people that has always loved this movie, and I love that it got. Some people didn't like that it got dark. It's like, oh, Spielberg and Lucas were in a dark place because of divorces, whatever. And it's like, no, I fucking love.
Plus, it's the only one that doesn't have fucking Nazis in it, so
I
it's
didn't
like
care
actually
if it was
like.
dark. I loved everything about it. Like you said, for the opening, with it did Anything Goes, and I was sitting there thinking, am I in the right movie? I don't know if I'm in the right theater. I was kind of like you were when you were watching Disclosure. No, it was Disclosure. Yeah, when you saw the wrestling. I was like, wait, am I in the right movie? There's a musical going on, but I'm like, oh wait, it's just taking place at this club. From the beginning all the way to the very end, I loved everything about it. I think it was fun. I loved Short Round. I wish he had like popped up more in subsequent movies, but obviously he didn't. So I've just been a huge defender of this film since day one. I love it. So
It wasn't until I started to like hang out with movie people that it's one of those people who's like, I see people ask this on Reddit all the time. It's like, is there a movie that you loved so much as a kid, and then once you started hanging out with movie people, you realize that everyone fucking hates it, and you don't want to like go like, but I love that movie, and have them all make fun of you. Temple of Doom was that movie for me. I always thought, I was like, what's your favorite one? Temple of Doom is my favorite one. And then you're like, everyone fucking hates Temple of Doom. You're like, oh no. Why?
See, and then Sean found me, and I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about my opinion. So.
Exactly.
All right. So with my 15 through 11, I will say that starting with 15, everything here on up is 4 stars or more. So the top 15 films by this director, for me, I'll got at least 4 stars. 15 being Amistad. Another, great drama that he turned, just like he turned out Schindler's List in the same year he did Jurassic Park, he turned out Amistad, I believe, in the same year he put out Lost World. So he likes to have his prestige movie and his blockbuster at the same time. Amistad is another one just full of great performances. It was kind of other he'd been in bit parts before. It's kind of the world's introduction to Jaimin Hansu, who obviously has gone on to do all kinds of great roles. I thought he was phenomenal in this. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in there in a small part. McConaughey kind of doing his Time to Kill role again 3 years later, just in a period piece. I do think Anthony Hopkins was kind of unnecessary. Maybe in the true story of it, he did play a part, but I kind of felt like he was kind of shoved in there for no reason. But otherwise, I really enjoyed that movie. Did you watch that? You haven't seen it?
No, that is probably the one outside of Schindler's List that I feel like I need to watch for Spielberg. It was just one of those, like, at the time, what was it, 97? 97? I was 12. So a slave movie wasn't really something that made me go, yeah, I want to watch that. So it just was one of those, like, I never watched it, and then I got older, and then I kind of, like, no one really talked about it, so my brain didn't really think about it.
It is kind of a Spielberg movie that nobody really talks about, yeah.
No, but it is one of those, like, based on that cast, it is one that I'm like, Sean, you should probably check that out at some point. So, yeah.
My 14 is another one that I think gets a lot of people kind of down talk this one, but I really enjoyed is The Terminal. The Terminal is kind of like after Spielberg had gone into doing a lot of these prestige dramas, things like that. It's kind of he decided to do something light and fun, which, like I said, he hasn't done a lot of comedies. His last pure comedy before this was 1941, which was a huge flop. So he put out this one, which it's definitely a comedy. It's not as kind of with a wacky tone to it. It's kind of a dramedy. But I think that Tom Hanks did a great job playing this guy from this fictional country. I think that the supporting cast around him with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Chai McBride and Diego Luna and all those people, I thought everybody they put around him did a great job. Stanley Tucci was great. It's kind of like, I wouldn't call him a villain, but like the antagonist of the movie, because Tucci's always good in everything he does. But this is just one of those movies, like, there's not a ton to it. It's just a light, fun movie, and I was glad to see Steven Spielberg do something like this, and I loved it. So, you see that one?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen The Terminal? I think you'd like The Terminal. That's one you should see.
That was just one of those ones like, why do I want to watch Tom Hanks in an airport the whole time?
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
My 13 is Minority Report. Minority Report is a movie that I like and I wish I loved it. Because again, first of all, I'm a sucker for like near future. Like, you know, they obviously the big sci-fi stuff, things take place in the far future with laser guns and spaceships and all this. But Minority Report is one of those movies, like, it's taking place in kind of the near future, where it kind of looks like our world, and there are some things in technological advancements, but it's still recognizable as mostly kind of our world. So I liked that kind of setting to it. And I liked the idea of it. Part of what I didn't like about it was the look of it. This is about the time, like I was talking about, he switched kind of different cinematographer, and it kind of has more of a gritty kind of look to it. And maybe it kind of worked for the story, but it's just, I don't really dig that look that he started going for in a lot of movies after this. Colin Farrell, at the time, they were trying to shove him down our throats as being like the next big star, and say he's like in everything. He popped up in this. Rewatching it since then, I don't mind him. I kind of like him in this role, and I like him a lot of stuff. But at the time, I was just like, I'm sick of this guy. Stop trying to push him down the throats. But yeah, this is a movie that there are definitely things about it I liked. I just didn't love it like I wanted to.
See, whereas you liked it but wanted to love it, I loved it. It is my number 6. This is the one movie that I always forget Spielberg directed this one.
Really?
Good. Yes, I don't know why, but it's always the one that every time it goes, yeah, Spielberg directed. I'm like, did he? Oh yeah, he did. It's the only one of his that makes me go, I always forget that it was his movie. Like I said, I love the world that we get with this, and the concept of it with the precogs and everything like that. Colin Farrell, I liked Colin Farrell, so I thought it was cool that he was in it, and you thought he was gonna have such a bigger role in it, and then he gets like offed in the middle of the movie, and I was like, bold fucking move by doing that. Tom is great in it. Tom got to have his badass movie with Spielberg outside of just, War of the Worlds, which wasn't this before War of the Worlds? Yeah,
this was 3 years before.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love how they do this movie. I even love the part with Peter Stormare, and we guys get his eyes done, and then that whole scene where they shot with like the little like robot spiders, and him having it like that scene is amazing. I really also that there's probably to me one of the coolest shots of the movie. It's such a small shot, but it's the gun. At one point, Tom has this gun, and he has to whip it sideways to shoot it. And I always thought that was just like the coolest, most badass shot. It's like a sonic boom shot, and it's like a side spiral thing. It's just one of those movies that just hit everything for me, for the story that it was trying to tell with Tom and losing his son, and I would never do this, and then all of a sudden you're like, he gets that moment where it's like, no, I am gonna do this. Like the whole thing I've been trying to stop, now that I get to this point, it's like, no, I'm fucking going to do this. And I love that like, yeah, I just love the way they built the story for this, and the performances were all great. Unlike you, I loved it, and anytime it's on, I'm like, fuck yeah, Minority Report's on, we're watching that shit. So yeah. And
again, it's a 4-star movie for me still, so
yeah.
12 seems to be the spot where we piss people off. Sean has ET over there. He's sure he's gonna piss people off. I'm gonna piss people off, including Sean. 12 is where I have Jaws.
Fucking 12?
12. I have never been, again, 4 stars, 4-star movie. I have never been as big a Jaws fan as everybody else. I enjoy it, but I've never held it in like the super high esteem that everyone else seems to. I think that, obviously they had problems and they had limitations on what they could do with technology with Jaws. I think it looks like a fucking cheap robotic shark whenever they show it. It's like, it looks like what it is. But you suspend disbelief, especially from 1975 movie, and you just go with it. So I'm not going to judge it for technical reasons. Obviously, John Williams' score, iconic. The acting performances, a lot of the scenes, especially when you have like Roy Scheider and Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss having their discussions, I think that the dialogue and the connection between those three characters is great. I just think a lot of the plot of it is kind of and we spend a lot of the movie, well, figuratively and literally, kind of treading water to get to the scenes that we really love about it. And so while I very much enjoy this movie and have given it 4 stars, it's just not one that I enjoy nearly as much as the other 11 in front of it. You feel like this, this is how I felt about E.T. So go ahead.
and it's in the same spot that you had E.T.
Oh, there you go.
Too. Which it's basically 1A, 1B with the obvious other one for anyone who knows me. Hello, Jaws, or Bruce. This was the first. There's. Let's put it this way. When I was a kid, and I'm talking about from like birth to like 92, there were I would say 3 movies that if you put them on, I would shut the fuck up, and you could basically go do whatever the hell you want to do. You didn't have to worry where Sean was. Sean's sitting in front of that fucking TV. And there were 3 movies. One was Land Before Time, because dinosaurs. If I didn't just tip off what my number 1 is. 2 was Monster Squad, because fucking Monster Squad's just badass, and I will always pick them over the fucking Goonies. And
3 was Porky. No.
What?
Was Porky's.
No, I didn't see Porky's until I was like 9 or 10. Porky's is such a funny movie too that we can't talk about barely at all. Thank you for bringing that one back into my brain. And 3 was Jaws. And everything that I'm about to say, I have said this ad nauseum. Brian has heard all this shit 1,000 times before on the show, because what more is there to say other than the same shit? But there's a lot of people here who have not heard it. I would say friends of my parents were worried about my well-being as a kid, who thought I was going to grow up to become a serial killer. Because Sean, what's that?
The jury is still out on that one.
Jury's still out on that one, yeah. Because they thought it was weird that Sean cried every time the shark dies at the end of the movie. And once again, we'll die on this fucking hill, and you will never be able to change my mind on this. The shark is not the fucking villain of the story. The shark is just being a fucking shark. The villain of the story is the fucking mayor, and the mayor sadly doesn't get he gets kind of a comeuppance, but he does not get his comeuppance in the movie. And for so many people have fought me on this, and I have destroyed them all. The shark is not the villain. Now, Jaws 4: The Revenge, I can't defend that. But we're talking about Jaws. I get the fucking shark looks fake. I get it. I don't fucking care. Those scenes with that shark when it pops up out of the water are iconic. The amazing performances of Shaw, Dreyfuss, and Snyder. Schneider or Snyder? I always say it wrong. Scheider. I always try to like, don't say Rob. It's like those 3 are amazing. The whole like USS Indianapolis scene is iconic for a reason. The scene prior to that, when Dreyfuss and them are going over their scars and they're drunk and they're all singing together, those are iconic scenes. I get what you're saying about the beginning, how it's a little dry, it's a little slow, because it is a book, and thank God they didn't follow the plot line, certain plot lines that the book did, because yikes. But the movie does so well, and I know Brian's going to roll his eyes at me. This movie does exactly the same thing that I give praise to for Paranormal Activity, is that the movie does so much with doing so little. Is that with Paranormal Activity, they didn't have the budget, but they were able to scare you or make you feel certain things
No, they were.
without being able to actually show you it, but they were able to do magic with the movie to make you feel that way. Jaws was the same way because the fucking shark didn't work, that they had to do this option with the camera being the shark's face and making you be afraid of getting in the water. And a lot of that was because the shark didn't work, and it was almost a blessing in disguise, because I don't think Jaws would have worked as well if they had just used the shark for 90% of the film instead of doing that shot. You agree with that, you said?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. John Williams' score, iconic. Even the cast around the main three are iconic, even in their small roles. Dan Murrell, who's a respected reviewer that we both admire, he had this video that was like, I can't remember how much numbers. It was like 20 plus or 30 plus reasons why I love Jaws. And he breaks it down, and I agree with him 1,000% with every single thing he came up with on that. Anytime there's been a documentary about Jaws, I've watched, even though it repeats the same shit. Sharks are my favorite animal, so I'm one of those guys who will watch fucking Shark Week and all that, but it's all because of Jaws. And I will watch this movie every year around 4th of July, so it's coming up again. I'm about to watch it again. It's literally, when people ask, Sean, what's your favorite movie? And my normal response is, don't fucking ever ask me that, because I have like 100 favorite movies, because it will change no matter what my brain, my thought process, my feelings, how I'm going about my life at that point can always change. But if they go, well, just pick one, I go, fine. If you're going to put me on the fucking spot, it's a tie between Jaws and my number one. Which is why Spielberg is my favorite director. Even though I've only watched half his films, it's because you gave me my two favorite films of all time. And Jaws is one of them. So it shocks me that it's at number 12 for you, but I'm not mad. It's just, it's not, Jaws is not your movie, which once again, I
really enjoy this movie quite a bit. It's a 4-star movie for me. It's just not, I don't hold it in as high esteem as John does. That's all.
Jaws and my number one, you hear people say, I've watched the movie like 1,000 times, when in reality it's probably been like 20 times. I can comfortably say that I have watched my top two easily over 300 times. Because as a kid, both these movies were on my TV every fucking day. Until I really started to play video games, and then that kind of cut into my movie watching time. But I will always watch these movies.
Yes, I've probably seen Jaws 5-6 times in my life.
Only 5-6 times? Wow.
Yeah.
Which is still a lot, guys. I'm not saying that like you haven't watched it enough. 5 or 6, you gotta think of these movies, how long they are. 5-6 times. Like even like something like Avengers Endgame, which we fucking love. I think I maybe only sat down and watched that from beginning to end maybe 3 times. 5-6 times for Jaws is still a lot. Yeah. But I know for a fact that I have watched these.
Like every few years, I'll sit down and watch it again. Yeah. All right.
Your 11.
My 11, which is one spot above Jaws, is the movie Always. This is.
I've never seen this movie, and I'm already mad at you that you have this on Jaws.
One of the things that has always made Spielberg one of the greatest directors of all time, if not the greatest director of all time, is that whereas some directors find their niche, their niche, and they make their kind of movies, Spielberg can do every genre. He has done a musical, he's done a comedy, he's done sci-fi, he's done action, he's done historical dramas. And in this case, he decided to do just a pure romance. This is actually a remake of a movie called A Guy Named Joe, which is a Spencer Tracy movie from the 1930s, 40s, I don't know. Which is actually a pretty good movie by itself. But I didn't see it till years after I saw this one. But this one is basically just a true an all-out romance. It's very much like the movie Ghost, which came out 2 years later, but this one got completely overlooked, which is weird because it's directed by Steven Spielberg. But it's like one of those things that just no one ever talks about it. Holly Hunter, Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman, along with a great supporting cast like David Keith and well, there's a whole bunch of other people. But basically, Richard Dreyfuss's character, whose girlfriend is Holly Hunter, this whole group is a bunch of firefighters. They're firefighter pilots. They're the kind of guys go and dump stuff on these, forest fires. He ends up dying in the process of one of these fighting a fire because his plane gets damaged and he crashes. It basically comes back as a ghost, and they're trying to figure out why he's there, what he's supposed to be doing. There's a great scene with it's Audrey Hepburn's final scene was in this movie. She basically is like this angel who kind of tries to explain to Richard Dreyfuss what's going on, what he has to do. I think she's great in her final role, which is kind of fitting that she played like an angel in her final role. But this is a movie. It's as a romance, it works. It's very comedic too. There's a lot of comedy to it. And then the three of those actors, just Richard Dreyfuss, Goodman, and Holly Hunter, just worked perfectly off of each other. And I thought they did such a great job. Brad Johnson, who's kind of the new love interest of Holly Hunter, he's kind of plays like kind of a bumbling doofus, but he's also kind of clearly Holly Hunter's into him. So Richard Dreyfuss has to come to terms with that. I thought he did an excellent job as well. And it's just one of those movies that if people haven't seen it, I encourage them to watch it because it is essentially a rom-com kind of, although there's a little more drama to it. But then when you have Steven Spielberg's, kind of touch on top of that and the way he directs people, I think it's just one of those ones that kind of sticks out. It's very unique in his filmography, and it's worth checking out. Not everybody's going to love it as much as me, and I know that. It's just one that I've always liked, which I'm assuming you haven't seen.
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. Go with are we going back and forth now with 10-1? How do you want to
Well, my number 10 was Hook.
10 was Hook. My 10 was West Side Story. Which I
okay. My number 9, we can actually talk about, is Ready Player One. I mean, it's a movie about a fucking video game. I mean, come on, like, why wouldn't I love this? Spielberg's touch into this, and I never read the book, so before we go, the book's better. Like, I don't know. I've never read the book. I have the book; it's sitting right over there. Have not read it. I love the Oasis. I think it's such a cool concept, and the way that they were able to get all these properties on this and just have everyone go, yeah, let's have all these, avatars of all these amazingly iconic characters show up, even for just for a split second. So that way this feels more real, more believable. I love the how they built the world of how this game has affected the lives of everybody and how it's basically, made their lives not pointless, but affect, that this is how they live is through the Oasis, not through their actual real lives. Ben Mendelsohn is such a great villain in this. I love the younger cast of characters. I love how they treat, oh God, I'm blanking on her name. I'm trying to pull up real quick. Olivia Cook, how she's so hideous with a birthmark. But it's like, dude, like, first off, it looks badass, and you're fucking gorgeous. Yeah. So you're fine. Ty Sheridan, I think, is a solid lead in the movie. Simon Pegg is got a great small part. TJ Miller, I know a lot of people don't like him. I'm fine with him. I think he's got a fun voice for the character that he's doing. Mark Rylance is great in the movie. I think it's just a fun ride, which really does feel like a ride through a lot of this movie. And it's just an enjoyable experience. And a lot of people, I guess, just wanted it to go deeper into, like, the politics of it and the world about it, which, because I guess the book did that. But I just wanted a fun game experience with some fun action sequences and characters. And Ready Player One did that for me. And that's why I love the movie. And that's why it's my number 9. It's actually the first 4K Blu-ray or 4K movie I bought too. So yeah.
I have Ready Player One at number 8. So just one spot off from me. This is a movie that, I was kind of like, I had read the book actually. And I thought it would be, and when I heard Steven Spielberg was doing it, I thought that was perfect. Because actually the book is full of references, obviously, to Spielberg stuff. Because it's very heavily, it's basically all based on, like, it's nostalgia porn. People call this movie nostalgia porn. It's basically just references to video games and movies and TV and stuff from the past, and it focuses a lot on the 80s. And a lot of that in the book was references to Spielberg stuff. Of course, when Spielberg agreed to direct this, he's like, I'm not going to refer to my own stuff because that's going to seem like full of myself. There are one or two brief ones that like the animators and stuff like hid in there, but they replaced a lot of the major ones with other movies than that. But Spielberg was still kind of perfect to direct this because it is basically kind of embracing kind of the pop culture obsession, and especially the 80s and early 90s. And he's kind of was perfect for that just because he was such a part of it. I will say the live action stuff, the stuff outside the Oasis, I didn't enjoy nearly as much as the stuff inside, not just because the stuff inside was so much more fun with the cameos and the references and all that stuff, but just the fact that the outside stuff, it felt a lot more like Minority Report to me, kind of that same world, kind of the same kind of cinematography. It's like this kind of worn down, kind of dismal world. And this is why everybody's going to the Oasis and wants to live their lives in there, because it's just a better place to be, which I suppose it's kind of part of the point of the movie. But I didn't enjoy the live action stuff nearly as much. I do think the whole thing with Olivia Cook and the birthmark was ridiculous, the same way you did. But I loved the characters. I loved like the segments they made. There are occasionally gets into too much just references for the sake of references and being callbacks to things. But this is a movie that you know what it is going into. You don't know that's what it is. You're going in there to just see all the cool things. Oh, look, I see this, especially in big crowds. You got to watch this movie 20 times and freeze frame it to catch all of the little things in some of these scenes. And it's just a ton of fun. That's why it's so rewatchable. And it is tons of fun. And so it's my number 8.
What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Lost World Jurassic Park.
Which is my number 8. Which
I've had this one when I was making this list. This one was everywhere from number 8 all the way down to number 14. This thing moved all over my list because it is one of those movies that got kind of really shit on when it came out. I mean, it still made a ton of money, but a lot of people are like, oh, it wasn't as good as the first one. It's like, well, no, because the first one's one of the best movies of all time. And my thing is, I really, really liked the idea of the dinosaurs coming to the mainland, which the commercials and the marketing really ramped up. Of course, you find out that isn't until the last 20 minutes of the actual movie, and they kind of rushed through that part, which I think would have been the most fun part of the movie. The rest of it, though, I still really enjoy. The only exception I have is kind of Malcolm's annoying daughter, who just happens to know gymnastics. And there's the one scene where the rafters are just lined up perfectly, just like uneven bars that she does practice gymnastics on. So she's able to kick one of the rafters out the window, and that got kind of stupid.
They cut you from the team.
Yeah, that was kind of stupid. But that aside, I mean, I like everything about this. I love Jeff Goldblum in everything he does, but especially in this role. And he gets to take kind of front and center because Sam Neill wasn't in this one. So he's kind of a major role in this. You bring in Vince Vaughn, who I think was perfect for the role. He was
a nobody at the time.
Yeah. He'd done Swingers and maybe one other thing, but he was not really a known person at the time. I thought he was perfect for it. Obviously, Julianne Moore. Everybody talked about it. Pete Postlethwaite. The whole cast is great. The dinosaurs look just as good as they did in Jurassic Park. I don't think they definitely did not slide back on that because everything looked totally believable. There are some exciting action segments in it. Does it live up to the first one? No, not quite. It's not nearly as good as the first Jurassic Park, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit, which is why I made my top 10.
Like I said, it was my number 8. Exactly everything that you said. No, it's not going to be Jurassic Park, but it's a damn fucking good movie still. Everything you said, Goldblum's great, Julianne Moore's great, Postlethwaite is great. Almost, I wish he had more to do in the movie because he was such a unique, fun character. Vince Vaughn was fun. Richard Richard Scheif that was Eddie? Yeah, Eddie Carr. Probably the number 2 most undeserved death in the entire franchise. He's such a nice dude. He did not deserve to go out that way. Probably has I would say, outside of the first one's iconic introduction to the T-Rex, probably the best T-Rex scene with the whole RV thing. I think everything about that was fantastic. I know a lot of people shit on when the T-Rex goes to San Diego, but like I said, still are waiting for Jurassic franchise to just let the dinosaurs wreak havoc in the real world.
We thought we were going to get it. We didn't.
Yeah, we keep getting dick teased about it. Like it's going to fucking happen. And then they fucking like, no, we can't do that. We'll just put them back in the jungle. This one deserved to be in the jungle because that's what the plot was telling us to. And then we got just basically that on repeat for the next like 4 movies. I liked the concept that they were like, there are no fences. They're all just living their lives on Site B, and we're dropping you guys in there. We finally got to see a Stegosaurus, which was like probably the biggest thing that the book has that in the first book. But it weren't in the first movie, which was kind of like, that's a big fucking dinosaur not to put in Jurassic Park. But we got to see them in the sequel. I love that. I love Peter Stormare. That's the first thing I ever saw Peter Stormare, and he's such a perfect dick. That when he gets his comeuppance by the compies, you're like, hell yeah. I agree. If there is a negative part, it is Malcolm's daughter. I don't want to say she's cringe. It's just that like every time she's on screen, I'm just like, I don't really. Even at a young age, when I saw this, I'm like, I really just don't want you on. Can we just have it just? Why do we always have to have kids in the Jurassic movies? Like, it made sense in the first one. Every other one after that, it's like, we don't have to have this. Like, but every single fucking movie has to have a kid or something supposed to be a kid, like in the last, fucking franchise or sequels. I think it's just like it's for kids who watch the movie, but it's like, we don't need to have kids for that, though. Star Wars is for kids, and they don't have fucking kids in that movie except for episode 1. But Lost World is such a lot of Spielberg movies, I've said this right, it's completely unfairly judged. It wasn't trying to be Jurassic Park. It was trying to be the sequel, which is based on a fucking book. And it was trying to be that book, and I think it succeeded in that. Do I think they could have done more with San Diego? Yes. Is there a huge plot hole about the boat? Yes. But I can, how the fuck did all the people die on the boat? Was it the baby Rex? Because they're like, oh no, the mom did it. The mom didn't rip that dude's hand or body off the fucking, wheel there. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I still love this movie so much. And it's right up there as the second best Jurassic film in the entire franchise. Yeah. Like I said, that was my number 8. Your number 8 was Ready Player One.
Yep.
My number 7 is Catch Me If You Can. So back to you.
All right. So my number, what are you on, 7?
Yeah.
My number 7 is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which I believe you said is one that you have not seen, at least not enough to rank it.
Okay, before everyone jumps on my ass about this one too, I am sure that I have watched this movie, but I was also probably around the same age as when I watched E.T. So just like when I said when I think of E.T., I also get Mac and Me mixed up. I think I also get Close Encounters mixed up with those two as well. So if you go to my Letterboxd, I have never rated Close Encounters of the Third Kind because outside of the iconic scene where they're standing outside of the ship and the ship's, making all the noises, I can't remember a single fucking scene from this movie. So in good conscience, I cannot rank this or rate it because it's another one of those of the Sean must watch list that for Spielberg that Sean needs to go back and watch. And I guarantee you, I'll probably get into it and go, actually, you know what? I do remember this now. But as of right now, I can't rank this movie because I don't remember it. So it is not on my list.
No, this is my number 7. This one is one that, when it first came out the same year as like Star Wars, right? In 1977. And of course, as a kid, it was, 5 years old at the time. I was obviously all Star Wars. I don't know if I saw Close Encounters at the time, but if I did, I didn't pay much attention to it. But in subsequent years, obviously, I eventually watched it. And as I got into my adult life, I obviously watched it several more times. This is another one that's just, it's such great filmmaking, top to bottom. It's taking this, it's not really an alien invasion, but it's alien contact movie. But it's not making it this big big, huge production sci-fi, story. It's a very human story. It's about normal people on the ground who have seen these things, or who are affected by these things, or who are obsessed with finding these things because they get something in their mind is calling them to this place in Devil's Tower, Wyoming. And so it's like kind of like we're talking about with Tom Cruise in War of the Worlds. It's kind of just like it's an everyman story. I mean, watching this guy with his family who actually is a really shitty dad. He just basically decides to up and leave his family to go off because he's obsessed with finding out about this UFO, because he's going crazy about it. And obviously there's other people who've had the same calling and they go to see it. It's just everything about this, the character work, starting with Richard Dreyfuss, but his whole family, and with Melinda Dillon, the other woman who he runs into that's looking for him, and across the board, the whole thing is just done. The actual scenes with UFOs are done with such that Spielberg's sense of wonder, I think this is kind of where he kind of founded that he would go on to use in Jurassic Park and these other movies. I think that he just does such a perfect job of conveying that sense of wonder and even joy, because the big famous sequence is obviously the one near the end where they're using the musical notes to communicate with it. And that one, it's like at the same time you're kind of like wondering what the hell is going on. You also, any characters in the movie you're doing too, you can't help but just like be smiling and laughing. It's just like this joyful, like, what the hell is going on? This is crazy. When you actually see the aliens and stuff, I honestly thought that part, maybe they should have even left that out, because it seemed a little cheesy at the time, I guess, with the effects and stuff they had available. It wasn't bad, but I almost think it would have been better if we had not seen the aliens. But everything, the whole movie leading up to that, I think is just so well done. And even though you get teased in occasional scenes, like every 20 minutes or so, there's like a scene where like either somebody's experiencing something or seeing something in the skies, but the rest of it's just a human story, and it's directed as kind of only Spielberg could do. And you didn't see that, so what's your number 6 then?
My number 6 was Minority Report, so back to you.
My 6 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Of the original trilogy, it currently ranks as my 3rd, but first of all, let me say that starting with this one, we're all in 5-star territory from here on up for all Spielberg's films. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 5-star movie for me. Love this movie. I especially love the relationship between him and Sean Connery's Henry Ford Sr., which is weird because they're only like 8 years apart in age. But or no, I think it was 12 years. I forget what it is, but it's not enough for him to be his dad. But who cares? I think that there's a lot more fun kind of injected in this one than there were in the previous 2. But I almost think they overcorrected, like from Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. There's some points where they get a little too jokey, like they've turned both Sala and Brody into just bumbling idiots, which they weren't in the first movie. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, so I'm not sure why they took that direction with those 2 characters, which kind of weakened them a little bit. But I mean, that didn't kill the movie. Like I said, still 5 stars. But I really enjoy this movie. I think for me, why it ranks below the other 2 is just because so much of it seemed familiar. It's like they went back to, like I said, I think they overcorrected from Temple of Doom. Like, well, let's go back to what worked. So back to the Nazi plot lines, back to the big mystical. It's the Holy Grail instead of the Ark. You go back to religious artifacts, and it's just like, while it was still enjoyable and I loved every scene of this movie, it just wasn't as original to me, which is why I think that it didn't rate as highly in my mind. With both this and Temple of Doom, though, I will say, because I'll spoil my number 5, we already talked about, is Temple of Doom. So they're at 5 and 6 right now for me. Those 2 are constantly just switching places. So it's like, it seems like it's whichever one I watched most recently,
This is my number 5. So I was about to talk about this anyway. This one is in my remember bank because this was the last film I ever saw in a drive-in. Now I know there's still drive-ins out there, but I'm talking about when like drive-ins were still a thing. This was the last film I saw with like
mine
family
around until 95. I think the last one I saw was a double feature of Braveheart and Species, of weird all things.
That is a weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Last Crusade always is remembered for me because of that. Plus, my namesake is in the movie, which is Sean Connery, because that's who I was named after. Because my dad was a huge James Bond fan, and Connery was his boy. So I mean, it's just a great Indiana Jones story. I didn't really care about the whole bumbling Indians thing because once again, I was at an age where that was just funny to me, so I didn't really ever really pay attention enough to that for it to be like a focal point. But I mean, it's got some great sequences. The whole tank fight scene is great, and then of course the whole Holy Grail and bringing in the one aspect that I gravitated towards when I was a young kid, which was the first scene in Raiders when it was like a booby-trapped cave, and then this is the whole final sequence is a bunch of booby-trap stuff, and then just the ability of making I remember like as a kid, because I was how old when this came out? This was what year did this came out?
89.
I was 4 when this came out. So when they did the sequence where the invisible bridge and they had to like throw the dirt, I was just like blown away by that scene. I thought that was just like the coolest fucking thing that they did. The one thing I probably didn't care for much was the whole like love story or lack, not I won't say lack thereof, but the whole like, oh, he loves the girl who's bad and she keeps screwing him over, like the femme fatale storyline of getting like noir stuff. That was probably the one thing I was just like, I don't really care about this. Once again, I was fucking 4, so why would I care about that? But yeah, I mean, I love the joke of we called the dog Indiana, kind of thing, and then how they just kind of rode off in the sunset like a western. It's
so it's supposed to be the last one, and it should have been.
Yeah, it definitely should have been. And that's coming from someone who liked Dial of Destiny and Crystal Skull to a point. But yeah, it's Indiana Jones. Like, come on. And you said your 5 was
my 5 was Temple of Doom.
So my number 4, sticking with Indiana Jones, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Everything that I've already said about Indiana Jones right here. Talk about one of the best character introductions in movie history. The opening sequence from the start of the credits to basically, I would say before he gets on the plane, to the point where he has to give the fuck's the thing he grabs at the beginning of the movie?
The idol. The
idol. He's just an idol. I didn't know if there was like an actual like name to it.
It's a fertility idol. I don't know if it has an actual name.
Yeah, when it's not Bullock.
Belloc.
Belloc. When he gets it taken from him, and stuff like that. Like everything about that scene with a young Alfred Molina in there too, which is just always so like, oh my god, every time I see him. But I mean, one of the most iconic scenes in movie history with the rolling ball, and then of course the moving the sandbag for the idol. Like everything about that is so great. And then you go into the rest of the movie, and you got the like I say, it's getting late, so I'm forgetting spots. So I was like that I want to say, but it's like where the monkey gets poisoned because he eats what the fuck's he eats?
Poison dates.
Bad dates, stuff like that. To everything about it, to like the iconic guys with the big machete and he just fucking shoots them. Which once again, Han shoots first. The whole thing with Indiana, everything about this. I don't want to go too far into it because I know this is more Brian's movie. But yeah, it's Indiana Jones. Like, what's there not to love about Indiana Jones? If you're a person who's like, I am not a fan of Indiana Jones, kind of don't want to be around you as a person, because how do you not love Indiana Jones? Like, it's okay not to love it as much as like we do, but to not like Indiana Jones is just not humanly possible. So, but yeah.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite movie of all time. Definitely Die Hard. Die Hard can compete for it, but this one is just a perfect film in every respect for me, and it's not really a surprise that my favorite director from the greatest, or my favorite movie from the greatest director of all time is going to be my number 1 film of all time. Yeah, this. I mean, at the time, of course, I knew Harrison Ford as Han Solo because I had seen Star Wars and Empire at that point, and so I'm like, oh, he's going to be Han Solo's going to be in this new movie. So I'm going to go see it, obviously. Not really knowing much about it. It was about an archaeologist, and it was like, what the hell? Why am I going to want to watch this movie? Well, I hear it has adventure. I hear it's fun. I'll go check it out. Like you said, from that opening scene, from the first introduction of the character, you already love this character, and every scene from there to the end of the movie is just perfect. It's this tribute to the, like I said, to the old style serials from the 1930s and 40s. But so the action scenes are just they're so much fun, which they've all been copied 1,000 times since then. But this is just, it did everything so perfectly. Obviously, you get another perfect John Williams score, not just the Indiana Jones theme, which is so iconic, but every piece of music in this entire movie is perfect to me. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about this movie. It's just, for me, this is just my favorite of all time. So that's my number one. So spoiler alert.
All right.
My number 4
Yeah.
is Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan is a movie. I'm not much of a war movie guy myself, but Spielberg does a war movie. I'm going to check it out. I remember when I went and saw this, it was me and I worked at a video store at the time, and I was a manager there. And there was me and a couple other managers, then all of our employees. Like a lot of us after work decided to go see this movie on like opening night. And a lot of them are like teenagers, right? And so they're all kind of joking around and being stupid and stuff. Went and saw this, but after that first, like, was it like half hour or so of just
it's like 20. It's like 20 minutes.
Yeah, storming the beach at Normandy. That movie is just so intense and really kind of makes you feel what it was really like for these people that are doing this impossible task. As soon as the front of the boats opened up, they were getting mowed down, and having to jump over the sides and try and survive, and much less to actually accomplish their mission. It's the kind of thing you've read about in history books and been taught about your whole life, but that's the first time. I'm not going to say I experienced it because I was watching a movie theater. I was in the middle of, but you kind of understood. You kind of felt this is what it was like. This is the odds these people were up against trying to do this impossible task. Now from there, it goes off on this story, which is just kind of following this one group as they go on to do this other side mission, which is obviously a fictional story. But it's still, even the rest of the movie, while they aren't based on real events like that initial storming of Normandy was, it still kind of gives you that same feeling of, this is what war is like. It's not gung ho glory. It's messy. It's bloody. It's about loss. And it's just it. And by the end of this movie, even these kids who were with me, who were just kind of joking around going into the movie, the lights came up and we all still sat there for like 5 minutes, just like, whoa, what did we just watch? Because it hits you so emotionally, and everything about it is just so well done. And it's I think to this day is still the best war movie ever made, in my opinion.
This is my number 3. And yes, it is the best war movie that's ever been done. I'm like you. I'm not a huge war movie guy. Now, usually if a war movie comes out, I go and check it out. But I'm also just kind of like, all right, you're going to hit these beats and these moments. And it's depending on the cast and how they, utilize those beats will depend on whether I like the movie or just be like, I'm okay with it. Saving Private Ryan was a different fucking monster altogether, because I think it was probably about a year and a half before I actually watched it after it came out, because it was just one of those things where like word of mouth was people couldn't make it through the first 20 minutes. People were puking or leaving the theater in the first 20 minutes because it's so brutal, so gruesome, and all that. So naturally, at my age, I was 13. Yeah, I was 13. My parents were doing the whole like, well, you can't go see it. And I'm just like, well, of course I can't go see it now without a parent because I'm 13. Mm-hmm. But once I was able to get it on DVD and stuff like that, I was like, well, I'm gonna fucking watch it. And that first 20 minutes is, I don't want to say it's the best 20 minutes of a film ever, but in terms of like a war film and what it was doing, it's the best 20 minutes of any war film ever made.
Just that immediate impact,
yeah. Everything about that scene is a masterpiece. From just the brutality of it to like the I forgot what you call it, where when Tom Hanks went into that, like all he just hears was the ringing, and he's just kind of in slow motion. I forgot what it's called. When people go into that, I'm blanking on it, but that moment, like I can't remember what it's called. But that scene is great. And even when he's just like looking around in that haze, and he just sees that dude walking around looking for his arm, and he just picks it up, and there's
the guy trying to like push his guts back inside himself.
Yes, it just lives with you, and everything about that scene is just so at an 11, and you're not going to get any time to breathe till like even moments where like they're hiding on this little like sand patch, and Tom yells at this one dude, and then he looks over here and then he turns around and that guy's dead, and it's just because it was that fucking instant. It just stayed with you how insane that real life experience was. And then, like you said, we go into the story where they get put on this mission to go and find, Private Ryan, who's, played by Matt Damon, and them having to kind of like feel how bullshit of a mission this is, because why does this guy deserve to live? Why does this guy get to go home? And why don't we get to go home? Why are we doing this? And then having to kind of, you lose the respect.
More people dying just so this one kid could live. Yeah,
exactly. So you have Tom, who, like I said, it's one of those things where, and it's great scenes. I actually went back and watched this like a couple months back. Is like, well, how come there's a scene where they're all bitching and complaining. It's mainly like Ed Burns and everybody, and they go to Tom, and Tom, they're like, why aren't you complaining? He's like, I'm your superior officer. I don't get paid, or I don't complain to you guys. I complain to them because I'm above you, kind of thing. And so he goes, I tell you guys what to do, and then I complain up to the people above me, like you're doing right now. It was like one of those. I'm butchering how he says it, but the way he said it, I was like, that's fucking like such a great like line. All the characters in this film, from Giovanni Ribisi to fucking Tom Sizemore, fucking Vin Diesel before he was anybody in this, still one of the most hard to watch deaths in this movie. It is in the end with Adam Goldberg. That death is still one of the it is burned into my memory bank forever.
And he's dead because Jeremy Davies was a pussy.
Because Jeremy Davies is a pussy. He screams, just go up the fucking stairs and help, man. And he only died because of that. And then on top of that, he's only dead not only because Jeremy Davies is a pussy, but because Jeremy Davies wouldn't let Tom Hanks kill him earlier in the fucking film. So it's just one of those things where it's like it builds and builds and builds. There's so many just amazing moments to even at the very, very end of the movie when we're talking to old Ryan, and he has that movie where it's like, tell me I've been a good man, because of what Tom said to him before he passes. Everything about this movie is just perfection. And that's what I'm saying, is like when Spielberg hits so fucking well, to the point where you become absolutely iconic. And that's why it's like I said, once you got to like these final rankings, it's like it's a dealer's choice, because it's like there's no wrong answer. It's just which ones hit you the way it's gonna hit you. Because we only have one movie left to talk about. Because your number 3 was what?
My number 3 is your number 1.
Exactly. And your number 2 is E.T. My number
2 E.T. and 1 is Raiders. Yeah.
And your number 1's Raiders, which means there's only one movie left. And my number 1 and Brian's number 3 is, when I ask people not what their favorite movie is, because I hate that question. I ask them, if you can only watch one movie for the rest of your life, what movie would it be and why?
Showgirls.
Showgirls. For just the pool scene alone. And my answer is always Jurassic Park. And the reason why is because it is 100%, in my eyes, the perfect film. No matter, because I tell people when I ask them this question, is be careful and think about this, because you don't want to pick a horror movie, because there's going to be days, because this is the only movie you can watch for the rest of your life. You're not going to want to watch people just get mutilated and killed every fucking day. Or you don't want to pick comedy, because not every day you want to fucking laugh. You have to find a movie that's going to have every aspect of a movie from every genre and mixes together to the point where no matter what you're feeling, no matter what mood you're in, this movie's going to hit that button. And Jurassic Park to me is that movie. It's got comedy, it's got action, it's got drama, it's got fantasy, it's got horror. Every single genre of film that you would want to watch at any given point of your life, this movie has that. And it's got fucking dinosaurs, which is the one thing I loved more than anything in the world outside of pro wrestling when I was a kid was fucking dinosaurs. And I have never seen a movie more in a theater than Jurassic Park. Every time they re-release it in theaters for an anniversary or, oh, now it's in IMAX or now it's in this version, I have to go see it because I need to relive that experience every single time. It is still the one movie, the only movie that will always make me feel the same way I felt watching it the very first time to watching it the 300th something time. I will always feel like that little kid at 8 years old who saw this movie and was just blown away by the experience, the characters, Alan, Ellie, Ian, all three of them are fantastic too. Even, the side characters like Gennaro and Samuel L. Jackson, who I didn't know who the fuck Samuel Jackson was at that age, with the hold on to your butts. I still quote this movie almost every day to people at work. The amazing T-Rex scene to the amazing Raptors scene. I remember when I was a kid, my mom, when you do something stupid as a kid, and it's not only your mom loves it, so naturally she makes you do it all the time because it makes her smile. I always did it's my favorite movie of all time, and I'm fucking forgetting his name. The hunter dude, the Australian guy who gets killed.
Muldoon.
Muldoon, thank you. I had Gennaro stuck in my head and I couldn't get it fucking out. At the very beginning, when he's telling the people to back away because they're trying to get the raptor into the paddock, I used to always do his voice, as she fucking loved it, and she would always be like, "Do the voice from Jurassic Park," and I'm like, "No, Mom, I can't. No, seriously, it's great." And it's like in front of her friends and shit, and I was like, and it was that. Like, there's so many, like with Brian with Indiana Jones. There are so many moments that this film has benchmarked for me through my life. Same thing with Jaws. That is part of the reason why I'm so harsh when it comes to the other films. I know that they're not going to ever reach the potential of Jurassic Park, but I want them to at least try. Jurassic World tried, and it didn't get there, but at least it tried. The other ones don't, and that's why those ones piss me off to no fucking end. Because I just love this movie so fucking much. And it makes me love Spielberg for bringing this to me and bringing this into my life. Because if there was no Jurassic Park, if there was no Jaws, I don't know if I'd be doing this show. I don't know if I'd love movies as much if it wasn't for those two films. I don't know if Brian, if there was no Indiana Jones, if Brian would still be the same kind of Brian that he is today when it comes to movies. And that's something that Spielberg has done with these, is that he's given us these moments that are benchmarks in who we are as people. And a lot of people are like, it's a fucking movie about dinosaurs, Sean. Why are you free? It's not about dinosaurs. It's about the magic and the feeling that Spielberg and John Williams, because John Williams is just as fucking important in this conversation as Spielberg, that left such a profound moment in you that you will never forget how you felt at that time, the first time you've seen it, and you can do nothing more but to go back and relive that over and over and over again. I know I took so much time talking about it, but yes, Brian, this was your number 3.
But I mean, obviously, you were going to have a lot more to say about this,
Yeah.
and I pretty much echo pretty much everything you said. The only thing I will add on to it is especially at the time, I don't, and now I don't think people realize how pivotal this movie was on a technical level, because before this movie, you basically had to do any kind of dinosaurs or creatures or whatever with puppets or with models and stop motion. And that they were planning on doing this movie that way. And if you see some of the test footage they did with stop motion for like running dinosaurs, it was going to look kind of shitty. But before this time, that's what we had. You just had to suspend disbelief. That's what nowadays people say, oh, this thing looks so fake. It's like, you have no idea how good you have it because you're just used to everything looking photoreal. Because this movie came out.
At the time, the only way you could really do dinosaur movies is animation. Like you had to do cartoon.
Yeah, and because like you'd had computer generated special effects starting to ramp up. You had like the Abyss, and then you had Terminator 2 with the T-1000 liquid metal, and they kind of had these progressive jumps. But then there's you hit Jurassic Park, and you not only have CG that looked convincing at the time, this stuff still looks perfect today.
I will rival Jurassic Park today against anything that's out now, and Jurassic Park still wins.
Yeah, the special effects in this movie they're done well, all the special effects, because they still smartly incorporated some puppeteering things and things like that to kind of depending on what the scene called for to combine with the CG. But the CG in here holds up today. It's better than half of the movies that are made these days. It wasn't. You would have thought that it would have been like, okay, it was decent. It was kind of, it worked for the movie, but things improved since then. Like, no, suddenly they just fucking had it perfect. I don't know exactly how this happened, that they made just such a leap that has now influenced every movie that has been made since then that has any visual effects of any kind. I don't think people realize what a gigantic leap Jurassic Park was. It wasn't incremental. It was like, we didn't have CGI realistic creatures. Now we do, just in one movie. And so on a technical level, this was just such a huge step. And then on top of that, everything Sean already said about Spielberg and what he can do with his movies, it was just a perfect film. Yeah. This is the kind of thing movie theaters were invented for.
Yeah, and which is why we love Spielberg as much as we do. Because we just you named 36 movies. I talked about 18 of them. But it was like once we got into the top 10, not even top 10, more like top 15.
Yeah, like I said, 15 was when he already hit 4 stars for me.
Yeah, it's like once you got to the top 15, it's just like, yeah, some movies didn't hit me as much as they hit Brian or vice versa, but the beauty of Spielberg's directing, especially like you said, in the late 70s going into 2000, he just had this perfect stride. Whether it's something like Jaws or Hook or the Jurassic Parks or Saving Private Ryan, where he just knew how to hook you in as a viewer and make memories. And then having John Williams with him most of the way. Because like he can hook you visually, John hooks you mentally and spiritually with his scores. And they are the perfect 1-2 combination. Mm-hmm. And while yes, people will praise Nolan with Zimmer and other people, there is no duo better than Spielberg and Williams. And there's a reason why you can play like 3 notes of any of Williams' scores, and if it's not Star Wars, it's a Spielberg film. Because that's how amazing those two are.
It's still John Williams.
What's that?
But you'll still recognize it because it's John Williams.
Exactly, because it's John Williams. I still will literally... You'll see like those videos where people will post, like a girl will like play like a NFL Sunday football, just play the sound, and then all of a sudden her boyfriend will come walking in and like, what's going on? If you play a hint of Jurassic Park's original score, I will come out of nowhere like, Jurassic Park on? What the fuck? I hear it. I hear Jurassic Park. What's going on? And they'll just be like, oh, just see if you come. And I was like, well, yeah, now I'm mad that Jurassic Park's not playing. We're watching Jurassic Park now. You did this. like I said, and it's sad because like we think of like stuff like how Spielberg is now. It's not that he's lost it. I don't feel like he's lost his touch. It's just I don't know.
I think he's just chosen to focus on movies that aren't the Spielberg that we love.
Do you feel like he has another one of those kinds of movies left in him? Are we not going to get the Spielberg that we love anymore, or do you think that he still has the ability to grab?
I think he still has the ability. I think it's just a matter of, as he got older, he changed, and so the stories he was telling changed. But at the same time, he clearly likes to, at least every once in a while, go back and make a Ready Player One, a fun movie. And so it's like I hope that next time he does that, it connects with us a little bit more. But who's to say?
But what were your guys' thoughts? Did you guys agree with us on Disclosure Day? Like I said, I've been reading people that I know's reviews and listening to a lot of other people's. They seem to be more in love with it than me and Brian. But what were your thoughts? Did you guys like him, like it, dislike it? Did it make you feel like it was a Spielberg film, or did it not feel quite up to the Spielberg that we know that we love? Let us know in the comments below. Also, where's your rankings? Is it close to ours, or do you guys really, love Bridge of Spies for some reason? But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead, hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, with the follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Also, don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon Music so you can listen to us when you can't watch us. Coming up next, in terms of releases, I don't think we have anything real big for the rest of the month. I think we got
there's Supergirl on the 26th.
That's right. We do have Supergirl coming up. So we do have one real big movie left.
Jackass is the same day, but I don't know if we're gonna talk about that.
Well, I've got Toy Story next week, so we've got some big movies left actually. So if Brian doesn't see it, I definitely will be having a review for Toy Story next week. You said you're not going to watch it?
Maybe someday on Disney Plus. I'm in no rush to watch it.
All right, so I'll definitely have a review for Toy Story. I don't think I'll be watching Death of Robin Hood probably until it comes out on streaming or something, unless I just have a day where I'm bored and let me go see it because it's got Hugh Jackman in it. And then we got Jackass and Supergirl. I don't think it's going to be on theaters for me, but on VOD, 40 Days and 40 Nights. I saw the trailer for that. It was definitely something I'd consider checking out. It's not a remake of the Josh Hartnett one.
Yeah,
it's more like a girl has to go on 40. If she goes on 40 dates, because she immediately is a very love happy girl, so she always goes on a date with a guy and then immediately falls in love with him. And I think her, I think Annie Potts is her aunt. She tells her you need to go on 40 dates, and if you do, I'll pay your rent. Then of course she finds one of the guys in the middle of the 40s and stuff. I don't know. It's a rom-com. And it intrigued me. That's supposed to come out on theaters plus VOD on the 26th. Also, Little Brother, which is John Cena and Eric Andre. They have a comedy. That's a Netflix one, which honestly didn't really look that fun to me. It's probably going to be more annoying than funny. But that's the end for June. And then at the end of the month, we will have our first half year review where we'll be going over our top 10 movies, worst movies, disappointing and surprising films for the first 6 months of the year. So we got plenty of stuff coming here in the next 2 weeks, so stick around for that. Anything else, Brian, before we go?
No.
All right. Well,
go watch The Furious.
Yes. If there is anything I can tell you guys to go watch right now, I know everyone's going to see Obsession and it's breaking horror box office, which, I wouldn't do that. I liked it.
It wasn't bad. I'm just sick of hearing about it. It's not that good, folks.
The girls' Indy's performance is worth the watch alone. But definitely go out and check The Furious. It's not getting a lot of viewings. I think my current theater only has 2 viewings a day for it. But if you guys love action, if you love martial arts films, if you love fighting films, There should be no reason for you to not go and check this movie out. This movie is fucking awesome. And we literally had an award every year called the You Should Be Watching The Night Comes For Us award. That is probably going to change that you should be watching The Furious, because that is how awesome this fucking movie is. I don't know how long it's going to be in theaters. So go out of your way to see this movie. If you're an action fan and you choose not to watch this movie, you are not an action fan. I'm telling you that right fucking now. Because if you go into this movie and you don't think that it's action enough for you, go watch The Expendables. I don't fucking know what the fuck you like that. But The Furious is amazing, and it deserves box office praise. It deserves to get the money that some movies are getting that don't deserve it. So go out of your way to watch The Furious. Brian has been praising this since he saw it at his movie festival a couple months back. I was so worried I wasn't going to get it here, and I was able to see it, and I could not praise it enough. So if there's one thing we can get you guys to go do, don't go see Disclosure Day. Spielberg's got all his money. Go see The Furious and have a blast watching it. But like I said, we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels. Until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.